Thomas Carter's hands shook so badly he couldn't hold the cardboard sign anymore. His wife Evelyn took it from him without a word, her fingers steady even though her heart was breaking. The sign read, "Belgian Malinois, $100, must have stable housing." At their feet, Ranger pressed against Thomas's left side, the same spot where the infection was spreading under his pant leg, the one they couldn't afford to treat. A man in a business suit stopped, read the sign, and laughed. "You're homeless, and you want $100? I'll give you 20. Evelyn's voice came out cold and clear. "Then keep walking." Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel and stay with us until the end of this story. Comment below and tell us what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. The morning cold bit through 3 layers of clothing like they weren't there at all. Thomas Carter stood outside the Millbrook, Virginia hospital because it was the only place left where people might understand. 68 years old, and his body felt like a machine with too many broken parts running on fumes and stubbornness. The infection in his left leg had started small, just a cut from the car door frame where they'd been sleeping for 6 weeks. Now, it burned with a heat he couldn't ignore anymore. "Tom, you need to sit down," Evelyn said. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. Your lips are gray." He wanted to argue, but Ranger leaned harder against his left leg, taking weight without being asked. The dog knew. Dogs always knew. Evelyn was 66 and looked 75 in the wrong light, but her mind was sharp as it had been when she ran the school library for 32 years. She'd memorized every form, every regulation, every loophole in the VA housing system. She'd done everything right. They'd still been denied 4 times. "Someone's going to stop," Thomas said. His voice came out rougher than he meant. "They'd better." A woman approached, well-dressed, carrying shopping bags from stores Thomas couldn't afford to walk into anymore. She slowed when she saw the sign, tilted her head like people do when they're about to say something they think is helpful. "How much?" she asked. $100, Evelyn said. "But there are conditions." The woman's smile thinned. "Conditions?" "You need stable housing with heat. We want to visit him. We need to know he's safe." "That's a lot to ask for a used dog." Evelyn didn't blink. "Then he's not for you." The woman left. 3 more people stopped in the next hour. 2 offered $50 and no conditions. 1 offered $75 if they threw in Ranger's leash and bowls. Evelyn said no every time. Thomas said nothing because talking took energy he didn't have. "Evie, maybe we should—" "No. We need the money." "Not like that." Ranger shifted again, his weight redistributing as Thomas swayed slightly. The dog's amber eyes tracked every person who passed, measuring threats, calculating distances. His ears swiveled at sounds Thomas couldn't hear anymore. "He's too well trained for a stray," Thomas said quietly. "You ever notice that?" Evelyn had noticed. She'd noticed a lot of things about Ranger in the 2 years since he'd appeared in their backyard, starving and scared, but responding to commands they'd never taught him. She'd noticed the way he checked corners before entering rooms. She'd noticed the thin scar on his shoulder that looked like a healed bullet graze. She'd noticed how he never, ever let them out of his sight. "Don't think about it," she said. "Hard not to." "Thinking doesn't help." A young couple stopped, fresh-faced and eager. The man crouched down, extending his hand to Ranger. The dog didn't move. "He friendly?" the man asked. "Very," Evelyn said. "But he doesn't trust quickly. We've got a big backyard. Kids would love him." Evelyn felt something tighten in her chest. "You have heat? Year-round?" "Well, yeah, doesn't everyone?" Thomas made a sound that might have been a laugh or a cough. "You'd be surprised." The woman of the couple looked at them more carefully now, seeing past the sign to the people holding it. Her expression changed, softened, then hardened with something that looked like pity. "We can do 80, she said. "That's really all we have." "Then we'll wait," Evelyn replied. They left. The wind picked up. Ranger pressed closer. Marcus Webb hadn't planned to stop. He'd planned to pick up his prescription refills and leave before anyone from his old unit saw him and asked questions he didn't want to answer. But something about the couple made him slow down. Not the sign, not the dog. Something in the way they stood. He was 38 and looked older on bad days, younger when he remembered to sleep. The limp in his left leg was barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. Most people didn't. Most people saw the haircut and the bearing and made assumptions that were sometimes right and often wrong. The dog saw him first. Ranger's head came up, ears forward, body tensing into a posture Marcus recognized instantly. Assessment, not aggression. The kind of focused attention that came from training that didn't fade. Marcus stopped 6 feet away and read the sign. Then he read the smaller print beneath. Then he watched Ranger for 10 seconds without speaking. "That's a Belgian Malinois," Marcus said. "Yes," Evelyn answered. "Military or police?" "We found him." Marcus nodded slowly. He was watching how Ranger positioned himself now, the angle of his body creating a windbreak for the old man's left side specifically. The dog wasn't cold. The dog was working. "How much?" Marcus asked. $100, but I read the conditions. You need proof of housing with heat. You want visiting rights. Anything else? Evelyn studied him with the kind of careful attention she'd used on students who showed up with bruises they wouldn't explain. "You have experience with working dogs?" "Some." "What kind of work?" Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The kind that doesn't come up in casual conversation. Thomas spoke for the first time since Marcus had stopped. "Navy?" "What makes you say that?" "The way you're standing. My father was Navy. You've got the same feet." Marcus looked down at his boots, then back up. "Yeah, Navy." "SEAL?" Thomas asked. Marcus didn't answer directly. "Is he good with commands?" "Perfect," Evelyn said. "Responds to English and something else. German, maybe. We're not sure." Marcus crouched slowly, not approaching, just lowering his center of gravity. Ranger watched him but didn't move. Marcus extended 2 fingers in a specific gesture, a signal that meant nothing in civilian life, and everything in certain circles. Ranger's tail moved once. Just once. Recognition without breaking protocol. Marcus stood up. His chest felt tight. "Where'd you really find him?" "Our backyard," Evelyn said. 2 years ago. Starving. Scared. No collar, no chip we could find. We put up signs. No one claimed him. "You took him to a vet?" "Couldn't afford it at first. Later, when we had some money, they said he was healthy. No chip. They asked if we wanted to register one. We did." Marcus processed that. No chip meant someone had removed it. Registration meant the couple had covered tracks without knowing. "What's his name?" "Ranger." "You name him that?" "No," Thomas said quietly. "He answered to it the first time Evie said it. We figured it was his name already." Marcus felt something cold slide down his spine. Ranger was a common enough name for a dog. It was also the designation for a specific military working dog unit. "Can I see him move?" Evelyn nodded. "Ranger, heel." The dog moved instantly, positioning himself at her left side, head up, eyes forward, stance perfect. Marcus had seen that heel 1,000 times. He'd commanded it himself with a partner he'd lost. "Release," Evelyn said. Ranger relaxed, returning to Thomas's side, resuming the protective angle against the old man's leg. Marcus looked at Thomas's left leg, at the way he wasn't putting full weight on it, at the slight tremor in his hands that wasn't from cold. "How long has that been infected?" Thomas stiffened. "Don't know what you're talking about." "Your leg. The way the dog's positioning himself. He's trying to keep pressure off it and block wind from hitting the infection site. That's trauma response behavior. Medical alert training." Evelyn's voice came out sharp. "He's fine." "He's not fine, and you know it." Marcus kept his tone level, not accusing, just stating. "How long since you've seen a doctor?" "We don't need—" "How long?" Thomas sighed. 8 weeks. Jesus. Marcus rubbed his face. "You're living in your car, aren't you?" Silence. "That's why you need someone with heat, because you don't have it." More silence. Marcus looked at Ranger again, at the way the dog's focus kept returning to Thomas's leg, at the controlled precision in every movement. This wasn't a pet. This was a soldier. "I need to make a phone call. Can you stay here for 20 minutes? "We're not leaving," Evelyn said. "I'll be back." Marcus walked to his truck and sat in the driver's seat with the engine off. His hands were shaking. He pulled out his phone and stared at a number he hadn't called in 6 months. His handler. NCIS. The investigation he was supposed to be running. He put the phone away and opened the glove compartment instead. Inside was a small wooden box. He opened it without ceremony. His grandfather's purple heart lay on faded velvet, the only thing he'd kept when the old man died. The only thing that mattered. He could sell it. He knew collectors. He could get 2,000, maybe more, cash, same day. He closed the box, opened it again, looked at the metal, looked at the couple through the windshield, looked at the dog who was protecting a man who couldn't protect himself anymore. Marcus made the call. Not to NCIS. To a dealer he'd met once at a gun show who dealt in military memorabilia. "I've got a Purple Heart. Original. Authenticated. How fast can you move it?" Thomas's leg was on fire by the time Marcus came back. He didn't mention it. Evelyn knew anyway. She always knew. Marcus had a different look now. Harder. Decided. "I'll take him. $100. Full conditions accepted." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Just like that?" "Just like that." "Why?" Marcus pulled out a roll of bills and counted out 5 20s. He set them on the edge of the cardboard sign. "Because walking away from this would cost me more than money." Thomas understood that answer. Evelyn wasn't sure she did, but she recognized truth when she heard it. "You need to take Ranger to a vet," Marcus said. "Full checkup. I want medical records, and I need your address so you can visit." "We don't have an address," Thomas said. "Then we'll fix that too." Evelyn felt tears behind her eyes and forced them back. "We can't ask you to—" "You didn't ask. I'm offering." Marcus looked at Ranger. "And I think he's been waiting for someone to show up for a long time." Ranger's tail moved again, twice this time. Marcus took the leash Evelyn handed him. The dog followed without hesitation, not pulling, not resisting, just transferring allegiance with the smooth efficiency of someone who'd done it before. At Marcus's truck, Ranger jumped into the back seat and sat, posture perfect, waiting for orders. "He's been trained for vehicle transport," Marcus said. It wasn't a question. "We noticed," Evelyn replied. Marcus nodded. He started to get in the truck, then stopped. "The infection. How bad is it, really?" Thomas met his eyes. "Bad enough that I'm selling my dog to a stranger." "Can you make it to the emergency room?" "Can't afford it." "I'll meet you there. I'll cover it." "We can't. I just bought your dog for $100 when he's worth 10,000. Let me balance the scales. Marcus got in the truck and started the engine. Through the window, he added, "And you were Navy. You were both military, weren't you?" Thomas nodded slowly. "Then we take care of our own." The truck pulled away. Ranger sat in the back seat, watching the couple through the rear window until they disappeared. He didn't whine. He didn't bark. He waited. The vet's office was empty on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus sat in the waiting room with Ranger at his feet, while Dr. Sarah Kim ran tests in the back. She was 50, efficient, with hands that moved like she'd forgotten what hesitation felt like. She came out holding a folder and a strange expression. "This is a very healthy dog." "Good. Also a very expensive dog. Belgian Malinois with this level of training, you're looking at 20,000–30,000 minimum." "I paid 100. Dr. Kim sat down. "I need to scan him for a chip." The couple said they already did. Nothing came up. "I'm going to do it again. Humor me." Marcus waited. Dr. Kim returned with Ranger and a scanner. She ran it over the dog's shoulders, then his neck, then down his spine. Nothing. She moved to his left haunch and stopped. Her face changed. "What?" Marcus asked. "There's scar tissue here. Old incision. Someone removed a chip." "How old?" 2, maybe 3 years. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "Can you tell what kind of chip?" "Military grade. The scar pattern is distinctive. I've seen it before on contract dogs." "Contract dogs?" "Private military contractors, sometimes government. They use the same chips as standard military working dogs, but register them differently." She paused. "This dog was reported dead or stolen. Guaranteed." Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Millbrook looked like every other small Pennsylvania town in winter. Quiet. Cold. Forgettable. If I wanted to find out who he belonged to, how would I do that? You'd need military access, or law enforcement, or you'd need to know someone in NCIS. Marcus smiled without humor. "What if I told you I already do?" Dr. Kim studied him. "Then I'd say this dog is part of something bigger than a $100 sale." Ranger sat between them, silent, watching both faces, calculating something only he understood. Marcus pulled out his phone and made the call he'd been avoiding for 6 months. His handler answered on the second ring. "Webb, didn't expect to hear from you." "I need a favor. You're supposed to be on administrative leave pending. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I need you to run a dog." Silence on the line. Then, "What kind of dog?" "Belgian Malinois, male, 4, maybe 5 years old. Bullet graze scar on left shoulder, chip removal scar on left haunch. Answers to Ranger, responds to English and German commands, high-level detection and protection training." More silence. "Where are you?" "Millbrook, Pennsylvania." "Stay there. Don't move the dog. I'm making calls." The line went dead. Dr. Kim raised an eyebrow. "NCIS? Something like that. What did you step into, Mr. Webb?" Marcus looked at Ranger. The dog's eyes were calm, patient, waiting. "I think I just found out why I'm really on leave." Thomas Carter's leg was saved by surgery he couldn't afford, performed by a doctor who didn't ask about insurance until afterward. Evelyn sat in the hospital waiting room with her hands folded in her lap and her mind working through calculations that didn't add up. Marcus had paid the deposit, cash, no questions. The receptionist had looked at him like he'd performed a miracle instead of a transaction. When the surgeon came out, he was younger than Evelyn expected, tired around the eyes, but steady in his hands. "We cleaned the infection, started antibiotics. He'll need to stay 3 days minimum." "Can I see him?" "He's still under. Give it an hour." Evelyn thanked him and stayed in her chair. Marcus sat down next to her after the surgeon left. "Ranger's at the vet," Marcus said, "getting a full workup." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Evelyn looked at him. "What does that mean?" Marcus hesitated, then said, "Your dog has a history. A serious one. Someone's going to come looking for him." "We didn't steal him. I know, but someone did. And whoever removed his chip and turned him loose knew exactly what they were doing." He paused. "You said you were both military. What branch?" "Tom was Navy, logistics. I was Army, nurse, Vietnam." Marcus nodded slowly. "Did you register for VA housing assistance?" 4 times. Denied every time." "On what grounds?" "Different reasons. Incomplete paperwork, missed deadlines, eligibility questions." Evelyn's voice hardened. "We did everything right. Every form perfect. Every deadline met. They still found reasons." "Who processed your applications?" "Veteran Assistance Coordinator, man named Derek Holland." Marcus felt something click in his head. "Say that name again." "Derek Holland. Why?" "Because I've heard it before." Marcus pulled out his phone and scrolled through messages from his handler, old case files, names flagged for investigation. Derek Holland appeared 6 times. He's been under observation for procurement fraud, fake contracts, but they couldn't make anything stick. What does that have to do with housing? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Marcus stood up. "I need to make another call. Stay here. Don't talk to anyone about Ranger. If someone asks, you sold him to a friend. That's all." "Marcus, trust me. Please." Evelyn wanted to argue. She didn't. She watched him walk away and wondered what they'd accidentally stumbled into by selling a dog they'd found in their backyard 2 years ago. In the parking lot, Marcus called his handler again. "I need everything you have on Derek Holland, Millbrook, Virginia office." "Why?" "Because the couple who sold me the dog were denied housing 4 times. Holland processed every application." "That's not our case, Webb." "It might be connected." "To what?" Marcus looked at the hospital, at the lights coming on as evening fell, to why a military working dog ended up in a backyard in Pennsylvania instead of a kennel in Afghanistan. The handler was quiet for a long time. "How deep do you want to go?" "As deep as it takes." "You're on leave." "Then take me off leave." "It's not that simple." "Make it simple." Another pause. "I'll send the files. But Webb, if this goes sideways, you're on your own." "Wouldn't be the first time." Marcus hung up and went back inside. Evelyn was standing now, looking through the window into Thomas's recovery room. Her husband was awake, groggy, but alive. "He's going to be okay," she said. "Yeah." "Because of you." "Because of Ranger. The dog knew something was wrong before anyone else did." Evelyn turned to face him. "What happens now?" Marcus thought about the Purple Heart he'd sold. He thought about the dog in the vet's office. He thought about the couple who'd lost everything and still refused to compromise on conditions for a dog sale. Now we figure out who's been screwing you over. And why. "We?" "You kept every piece of paper, didn't you? Every denial. Every form." Evelyn smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'm a librarian. I keep everything." "Then we're going to need it all." That night, Marcus brought Ranger to his apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't much. 1 bedroom, small kitchen, furniture that had come with the place. But it was warm, and the heater worked, and there was food in the refrigerator. Ranger walked through every room once, checking corners, testing sightlines, mapping exits. When he finished, he sat in the living room, facing the front door, and waited. Marcus set down a bowl of food. Ranger didn't move. "You need to eat." The dog's eyes stayed on the door. Marcus sat on the floor 6 feet away. They're okay. Thomas is in the hospital getting treatment. Evelyn's with him. They're safe. Ranger's ears moved, tracking the words, processing meaning. I know you don't know me. I know you're trained to be careful. But we're on the same side here. Marcus paused. I lost a partner once. Not the same as you, but close enough. I know what it's like to have a job and no one to do it for anymore. Ranger turned his head slightly, looking at Marcus now instead of the door. I'm going to find out what happened to you, who you were, where you came from, and I'm going to make sure Thomas and Evelyn are taken care of. Marcus leaned back against the couch. But I need your help, because something tells me you know more than anyone realizes. Ranger stood up, walked to the food bowl, and ate. Slowly, methodically, like someone who'd learned to make rations last. When he finished, he walked back to Marcus and sat down. Not touching, not pressing, just present. Marcus reached out slowly. Ranger allowed the contact. His head was warm under Marcus's palm, solid, real. We're going to figure this out, Marcus said. All of it. Ranger's tail moved once. Outside, snow started to fall. Inside, 2 soldiers who'd lost their way sat in the quiet and waited for morning. The files arrived at 3 in the morning. Marcus was still awake, sitting at his kitchen table with Ranger asleep at his feet. The email notification cut through the silence like a blade. He opened his laptop and started reading. Derek Holland, 42 years old, former Army supply sergeant, discharged under general conditions 12 years ago. Reasons redacted. 3 years later, he appeared in Millbrook as a veteran assistance coordinator, private contractor, not government employee, but working closely with VA administration. Marcus scrolled through financial records his handler had flagged. Holland's salary was modest. His bank account was not. Deposits came in patterns that made no sense for a man processing housing applications. 1,500 here, 3,000 there. Always cash. Always on Fridays. Ranger lifted his head, ears forward. What is it? Marcus asked. The dog stood and walked to the window, staring at something Marcus couldn't see. His body was tense, the same posture he'd held watching the couple at the hospital. Protection mode. Marcus closed the laptop and moved to the window. The street was empty. Snow fell in steady sheets, erasing footprints as fast as they formed. Nothing moved. Ranger growled, low and deep. Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Mr. Webb? A woman's voice, professional, tight with control. Who's this? My name is Special Agent Lisa Ortiz, NCIS. I understand you've acquired a dog. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Who told you that? Your handler forwarded your inquiry. The dog you described matches a military working dog reported killed in action 2 years ago in Kandahar province. Designation, Ranger. Handler, Sergeant First Class Ryan Bishop. Bishop's dead? Officially, yes. Killed in an IED attack along with his dog. Both bodies recovered and returned stateside. Both buried with honors. Marcus processed that. If they're both dead, I'm looking at a ghost. Apparently. Ortiz paused. I need to see this dog, tomorrow. I'm already in Pittsburgh. I can be in Millbrook by noon. Why the rush? Because if that dog is who I think it is, someone committed fraud at the highest level. And if someone committed fraud, they had help. Her voice sharpened. Where did you get him? Bought him from an elderly couple. They found him 2 years ago. Found him where? Their backyard. Silence on the line. Then, What's the couple's name? Carter. Thomas and Evelyn Carter. Are they veterans? Navy and Army. Why? Because this just got a lot more complicated. Ortiz exhaled slowly. Don't move the dog. Don't let anyone else see him. I'll be there at noon. She hung up before Marcus could respond. Ranger was still at the window, watching the street. His growl had stopped, but his body hadn't relaxed. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Come on, we're going for a ride. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty at 3:30 in the morning. Marcus walked through the main entrance with Ranger at his side, using the visitor badge he'd pocketed earlier. No one stopped him. Night shift nurses had bigger problems than a man with a dog. Thomas was awake when Marcus entered the room. His leg was elevated, wrapped in clean bandages, an IV drip feeding antibiotics into his arm. He looked better already, color in his face, eyes clear. Couldn't sleep either? Thomas asked. Needed to talk. About? Marcus pulled a chair close to the bed. Ranger positioned himself between the door and Thomas, watching both. How much do you remember about finding Ranger? Thomas frowned. Most of it. Why? Tell me exactly what happened. Every detail. It was February, 2 years ago. Evie heard something in the backyard. Scratching, whining. We went out and found him trying to dig under the fence. Starving. Terrified. Wouldn't let us near him for hours. What changed? Evie started talking to him. Not baby talk, just normal conversation. Like he was a person. Thomas smiled faintly. She does that. Talks to everything like it understands. After about an hour, he came close enough to eat from her hand. He was already trained? We didn't know it at first. Thought he was just smart. Then Evie said, sit, one day, and he dropped like he'd been shot. Perfect form. After that, we tested other commands. He knew dozens. Marcus leaned forward. Did he have injuries? Old ones. The scar on his shoulder looked infected when we found him. We cleaned it best we could. Took 3 weeks to heal. The one on his haunch we didn't notice until later. Looked surgical. Did you ever wonder where he came from? Thomas met his eyes. Every single day. But no one claimed him. We put up signs, called shelters, checked lost dog reports online. Nothing. So we kept him. Figured he'd run from something bad and found us instead. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Thomas a photo his handler had sent. Military working dog, Belgian Malinois, standing at attention next to a soldier in desert camouflage. The dog's face was unmistakable. Thomas stared at the screen. That's Ranger. Yeah. Who's the soldier? Sergeant Ryan Bishop. Officially killed in action 2 years ago, same time Ranger disappeared. Thomas's face went pale. Jesus Christ. There's more. The couple who supposedly found Bishop's body also found Ranger's. Both were buried with full military honors. Both had funerals. Both have graves at Arlington. Then who the hell is sleeping on your apartment floor? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The door opened. Evelyn stepped in, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the vending machine. She stopped when she saw Marcus, then noticed the expression on her husband's face. What happened? She asked. Thomas handed her the phone. Evelyn looked at the photo for a long time without speaking. When she finally did, her voice was steady but cold. Someone stole that dog and dumped him to die. Yes, Marcus said. And they faked his death to cover it up. Yes. Evelyn set down the coffee cups very carefully, like she was fighting the urge to throw them. Why? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. Marcus stood up. I need you to think. In the 2 years you've had Ranger, did anyone ever ask about him? Anyone pay unusual attention? Evelyn and Thomas exchanged a look. "There was one guy," Thomas said slowly. "About 6 months after we found Ranger, came to the house asking if we'd seen a lost dog. Showed us a photo that looked nothing like Ranger, but the whole time he kept looking at our backyard." "Did he give a name?" "Said his name was Miller. Didn't leave contact information. Never came back." Marcus felt pieces clicking together. "What did he look like?" "Tall, maybe 6'2", dark hair, clean cut, military bearing. Like you." Thomas paused. "Actually, now that I think about it, he moved like you. Same way of checking corners." "Did he see Ranger?" "No, Ranger was inside. When Evie brought him out later, the guy was already gone." Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from his handler. "Ortiz is bringing a team, not just for the dog. Something bigger. Watch yourself." Ranger suddenly stood up, ears forward, staring at the door. A second later, footsteps approached. Heavy, purposeful. 2 people, maybe 3. The door opened and a man in a suit stepped in. Mid-40s, neat beard, expensive watch. Smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter," the man said. "I'm Derek Holland, Veteran Assistance Coordinator. I heard about your hospitalization and wanted to check in." Thomas's face hardened. "At 4 in the morning?" "I keep unusual hours." Holland's gaze shifted to Marcus. "And you are?" "Friend of the family." "I see. Well, I won't keep you. I just wanted to let you know we've had a cancellation in our emergency housing program. I can fast-track your application if you're interested." Evelyn's voice came out flat. "We've applied 4 times. You denied us every time." "Previous applications had issues. This is different. Emergency circumstances. Medical hardship." Holland pulled out a tablet. "I just need a few signatures and we can have you placed by next week." "What's the catch?" Thomas asked. "No catch. Just helping veterans in need." Marcus watched Holland's eyes. They kept flicking to Ranger. Brief glances, calculated, assessing. Recognition hiding behind professional courtesy. "We'll think about it," Evelyn said. Holland's smile thinned. "This is a limited-time offer. Emergency housing fills up fast." "Then we'll think fast." Holland nodded slowly. "Of course. Take your time." He handed Evelyn a business card. "Call me when you decide, day or night." He left without another word. Ranger followed him to the door, hackles raised, a low rumble building in his chest. Marcus waited until the footsteps faded, then said, "Don't sign anything." "Wasn't planning to," Thomas replied. "He recognized Ranger." "I know, I saw it too." Evelyn picked up Holland's business card and turned it over. On the back, someone had written a phone number, different from the printed one. Handwritten. Recent. Marcus took a photo of both numbers. "I need to go. Ranger stays with you until I get back." "Where are you going?" "To find out who Derek Holland really is." Marcus left Ranger with the Carters and drove to the VA office. Dawn was still an hour away. The building was dark except for one window on the second floor. Holland's office. Marcus parked across the street and watched. 10 minutes later, a car pulled up. Black sedan, government plates. A woman got out. Tall, athletic, dark hair pulled back. She looked around once, then walked to the building's side entrance. The door opened before she knocked. Marcus took photos with his phone, sent them to his handler with one word. "Who?" The response came back in seconds. "That's Special Agent Ortiz. What the hell is she doing there?" Marcus didn't answer. He was already moving. The side entrance had a keypad lock. Marcus tried 3 common codes before it clicked open. Inside, the building smelled like old coffee and cheaper cologne. He took the stairs slowly, keeping to the edges where the wood didn't creak. Holland's office door was closed, but not locked. Voices came through clearly. "The dog's alive," Holland's voice, tight with anger. "I can see that." Ortiz, calm, professional. "This wasn't part of the plan." "Plans change." "Not like this. If they trace him back..." "They won't. The couple has no idea what they bought, and Webb doesn't know enough yet to matter." Marcus felt ice in his veins. Ortiz wasn't investigating. She was involved. "What about Bishop?" Holland asked. "Bishop's handled. He won't talk." "Because he's dead?" "Because he's smart." Ortiz paused. "The dog needs to disappear. Permanently this time." "How?" "Leave that to me. You focus on the Carters. Get them into housing. Once they're locked into the system, they're not a problem anymore." "And Webb?" "Webb's on administrative leave. He has no authority. If he pushes too hard, we'll bury him the same way we buried Bishop." Marcus's phone vibrated in his pocket. He silenced it too late. The voices inside stopped. Marcus ran. He made it to the stairwell before the office door opened. Footsteps behind him, fast and getting faster. He hit the ground floor and burst through the side exit into the parking lot. His truck was 50 feet away. A shot cracked the air. The side mirror exploded. Marcus dove behind a parked car, drew his service weapon from his ankle holster, and returned fire. 3 rounds at the building, not to hit, just to slow them down. It worked. The footsteps stopped. He sprinted to his truck, engine already running from the remote start. Tires screamed as he pulled out. Another shot punched through the rear window. Marcus drove 6 blocks before pulling into an alley and killing the lights. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. Ortiz wasn't investigating the case. She was running it. His phone rang. His handler. "What the hell just happened? I'm getting reports of shots fired at the VA building." "Ortiz is dirty," Marcus said. "She's working with Holland." "That's impossible." "I just heard her say it. They're planning to kill the dog and bury me if I keep pushing." Silence. Then, "Get out of Millbrook, right now. I'll send a clean team." "I'm not leaving." "Webb, they're targeting veterans, stealing dogs, faking deaths, and Ortiz has NCIS credentials, which means this goes higher than her." Marcus's voice hardened. "I'm staying, and I'm finishing this." "You have no authority, no backup, no protection. I have a dog who won't quit, and 2 old people who deserve better. That's enough." He hung up and drove back to the hospital. Ranger was waiting in Thomas's room, alert, tense. The dog knew something had changed. "We need to move," Marcus said. "Right now. All of us." Evelyn stood up. "What happened?" "Holland's dirty. Ortiz is dirty. This whole thing is bigger than housing fraud." Marcus looked at Thomas. "Can you walk?" "With help." "Then let's go. I'll explain in the car." They made it to the parking lot before Holland's car pulled in. He got out slowly, hands visible, smile gone. "Mr. Webb, we need to talk." Marcus positioned himself between Holland and the Carters. "I don't think we do." "You're making a mistake." The only mistake was not seeing this sooner. Holland's hand moved toward his jacket. Ranger barked once, sharp and commanding. Holland froze. "Don't," Marcus said quietly. "The dog's government property." "The dog's dead. Buried at Arlington. You said so yourself." Holland's expression shifted. Calculation replacing pretense. "You don't understand what you're interfering with." "Then explain it." "I can't." "Try." Holland looked at Ranger, at the Carters, at Marcus. There are people who pay very well for dogs like him. People who don't ask questions. People who make problems disappear. You sold military working dogs. I facilitated transfers. Big difference. Not in a court-martial. Holland laughed. You think this goes to court? You think anyone cares about one dog when there are hundreds missing? Thousands? He shook his head. This is bigger than you. Bigger than me. Walk away while you still can. No. Then you're dead. Just like Bishop. Ranger lunged, not far, just enough to make Holland stumble backward. The dog didn't bite, didn't attack, just established a line that could not be crossed. Marcus grabbed Thomas and Evelyn and moved them toward his truck. Get in, now! They did. Marcus followed, engine roaring to life. Holland stood in the parking lot watching them go, phone already at his ear. Where are we going? Evelyn asked. Marcus didn't know yet, but he knew one thing. The couple who'd sold their dog for $100 had just become the most important witnesses in a case that could bring down an entire network. And the dog they'd found in their backyard 2 years ago was the key to all of it. Marcus drove for 20 minutes before his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. Pull over at the next gas station. A man's voice, rough, familiar somehow. Who is this? Someone who's been dead for 2 years. Pull over. We need to talk. The line went dead. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. In the back seat, Ranger's ears went forward, a low whine building in his throat. What's wrong with him? Evelyn asked. He knows that voice, Marcus said quietly. Don't you, boy? Ranger's whine turned into something else. Not aggression. Recognition mixed with confusion. The gas station appeared on the right. Marcus pulled in and parked away from the pumps. A figure stood near the air compressor, hood up, hands in pockets. Waiting. Stay in the truck, Marcus told the Carters. Like hell, Thomas said. This could go bad fast. Then you'll need witnesses. Marcus didn't argue. He got out, kept his hand near his weapon, and walked toward the figure. Ranger followed without being told, his body tense, every muscle coiled. The man pushed back his hood, mid-30s, lean, scarred face, eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. Dark hair grown out past military regulation, a beard that didn't quite hide the knife scar on his jaw. Ranger stopped walking. His entire body went rigid. The man crouched slowly. Hey, Ranger. It's been a while. The dog didn't move forward, didn't retreat, just stood there, caught between two impossible truths. You're Bishop, Marcus said. Was Bishop. Now I'm just trying to stay alive. Ryan Bishop stood up, keeping his movements slow and careful. You're the SEAL who bought him. How did you know? Because Holland called me 10 minutes ago screaming that some Navy asshole was ruining everything. Bishop smiled without humor. Figured it had to be you. Marcus felt his world tilting. You're supposed to be dead, buried at Arlington. That's what the paperwork says. Then who's in the grave? No one. It's empty. Symbolic burial. Military loves their symbolism. Bishop's expression hardened. They declared me KIA when I refused to come back. Ranger, too. Made it clean. No questions, no investigations. Why would you refuse to come back? Because I found out what they were doing with the dogs. Bishop's voice dropped. Not just ours. All of them. The ones that got too old, too traumatized, too expensive to keep. They weren't being retired. They weren't being adopted. They were being sold. Evelyn had gotten out of the truck despite Marcus's order. She stood 10 feet away, listening. Sold to who? Private military contractors, foreign security firms, cartel enforcers, anyone who'd pay 6 figures for a dog trained to detect explosives, track targets, kill on command. Bishop looked at Ranger. When I found out, I tried to report it. That's when my handler told me I had 2 choices: play along or disappear. So you disappeared, Marcus said. I took Ranger and ran. Made it as far as Pennsylvania before they caught up to us. There was a fight. I got away. Ranger didn't. Bishop's voice cracked. I thought they'd killed him. Spent 2 years thinking I'd gotten him killed trying to save him. Marcus's mind raced through implications. How did he end up in the Carters' backyard? I don't know. But I'm guessing whoever grabbed him couldn't control him. Ranger's loyal to a fault. If he wouldn't work for them, they'd dump him. Make it look like he died naturally. Thomas leaned against the truck, his leg clearly hurting. So Holland is what? The middleman? Holland's the coordinator. He finds dogs, processes fake paperwork, fakes deaths, ships them out. Bishop pulled out a phone and showed them photos. Dogs in crates, transport manifests, bank transfers. He's been doing it for 6 years. Moved at least 80 dogs. Made millions. Who's running it? Marcus asked. Bishop hesitated. That's the part you're not going to like. Try me. Special Agent Lisa Ortiz. She's not investigating the trafficking. She started it. Marcus felt sick. NCIS is running a dog theft operation? Not NCIS. Ortiz. She recruited people, built a network, used her credentials to cover tracks. Bishop's jaw tightened. When I figured it out, she's the one who ordered my execution. Holland pulled the trigger, or tried to. I was faster. Where's your proof? Bishop handed Marcus a flash drive. Everything. Recordings, financial records, shipping manifests, names, dates, locations, enough to bring down the whole network. Marcus stared at the drive. Why give this to me? Because you're not on leave for medical reasons. You're NCIS undercover. I checked. Bishop smiled grimly. Ortiz doesn't know. Holland doesn't know. But I spent 2 years learning how to disappear and how to find people who don't want to be found. Your real name isn't even Marcus Webb. The world went very quiet. Thomas and Evelyn stared at Marcus. Is that true? Evelyn asked. Marcus didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was steady but tired. My real name is Lieutenant Marcus Cross, Navy SEAL, currently assigned to NCIS undercover operations. I was sent to Millbrook 3 months ago to investigate procurement fraud at the VA office. I didn't know about the dogs until yesterday. So everything you told us was a lie, Thomas said. No, the help was real, the money was real, everything I did for you was real. Marcus looked at them both. I sold my grandfather's Purple Heart to buy Ranger. That wasn't part of any mission. That was me making a choice. Evelyn's expression softened slightly. Why didn't you tell us? Because the moment I told you, you became targets. The less you knew, the safer you were. Marcus turned back to Bishop. If you have all this evidence, why haven't you gone public? Because going public gets me killed. Ortiz has connections everywhere. FBI, DOD, Homeland Security. The second I surface, I'm dead. Bishop's voice hardened. But you're different. You're active NCIS. You have authority. You can make this stick. Not alone. I need backup. Clean backup. Then call your handler. The real one, not the local contact. Go straight to the top. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call. It rang 4 times before a woman answered. Director Chen. Ma'am, this is Lieutenant Cross. I need immediate extraction and a clean team. Situation critical. There was a pause. Cross, you're supposed to be maintaining cover. Cover's blown. I have evidence of a multi-year operation involving theft and trafficking of military working dogs. NCIS personnel involved at the agent level. I need support now. Another pause, longer this time. Where are you? Millbrook, Pennsylvania, VA office. Who else knows? 2 civilian witnesses, 1 former handler with full documentation, and 1 very angry dog. Sit tight, I'm sending a team. ETA 2 hours. Chen's voice sharpened. Cross, if this is what you say it is, you're about to kick over a hornet's nest. Already did that, ma'am. Then stay alive until my people get there. She hung up. Marcus looked at Bishop, then at the Carters, then at Ranger. The dog hadn't moved, still frozen between past and present. What happens now? Evelyn asked. Now we go public, Marcus said. Holland and Ortiz think they can bury this quietly. We're going to make so much noise they can't. How? Thomas asked. Bishop smiled. Town hall meeting, tomorrow night. Open to the public. We present everything, live stream it, make it impossible to ignore. They'll try to stop us, Evelyn said. Let them try. Marcus looked at his phone. I know a reporter, Sarah Chen. She's been trying to break a story about VA corruption for months. This is her jackpot. He made the call. Sarah answered on the second ring. Marcus, it's 5 a.m. I have a story for you. Military working dogs being stolen and sold. NCIS agent running the operation. Multiple witnesses. Full documentation. Silence. Then, You're serious? Dead serious. Town hall meeting tomorrow night. Millbrook Community Center, 7 p.m. Be there with cameras. I'll bring a crew. Marcus hung up and looked at Bishop. You good with this? I've been waiting 2 years to burn this down. Yeah, I'm good. Ranger finally moved. He walked to Bishop slowly, each step deliberate. When he reached him, he sat down and placed one paw on Bishop's boot. Not aggressive, not submissive, just acknowledgement. Bishop's eyes filled with tears. He dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I left you. Ranger leaned into him, a low whine escaping. Forgiveness without words. Marcus felt something break open in his chest. He turned away, giving them privacy, and found Evelyn watching him. You're a good man, Lieutenant Cross, she said quietly. I lied to you. You protected us. There's a difference. She paused. What happens to Ranger after this? Does he go back to the military? I don't know. Legally, he's government property, but legally he's also dead. That complicates things. Can you fight for him? Marcus thought about the regulations, the paperwork, the chain of command that never bent for sentiment. I can try. That's all we're asking. They spent the rest of the morning at a motel outside town, planning. Bishop laid out the evidence, financial trails showing millions in transactions, shipping records with dates and destinations, recorded conversations between Holland and Ortiz discussing specific dogs, specific sales, specific buyers. This one here, Bishop said, pointing to a file. German Shepherd, 8 years old, explosives detection. Sold to a cartel in Juarez for $200,000. Dog's name was Duke. His handler killed himself 6 months later when he found out Duke wasn't retired. He was murdered for profit. Thomas's face went hard. How many handlers know? Most don't. The dogs just disappear. Paperwork says they died or were adopted or retired to farms. No one questions it, because who wants to believe their partner was sold like livestock? Bishop's voice shook. I only found out because I was paranoid. Kept copies of everything. When Ranger's retirement date came up and the paperwork didn't match protocol, I started digging. And that's when Ortiz came after you, Marcus said. Yeah. She offered me money first, $250,000 to forget what I'd seen. When I refused, she tried to have me killed. Made it look like I died in the field. Ranger, too. Evelyn was taking notes, her librarian training kicking in. We need to organize this chronologically, show the pattern, dates, names, amounts, make it impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Can you do that by tomorrow? Marcus asked. I can do it by tonight. The motel room became a war room. Evelyn organized files. Thomas made phone calls to other veterans he knew, people who'd lost dogs under suspicious circumstances. Bishop and Marcus went through military protocols, finding every regulation that had been violated. Ranger moved between them all, checking each person, settling near whoever seemed most stressed. When Evelyn's hands started shaking from exhaustion, he rested his head on her lap. When Thomas's leg cramped up, Ranger positioned himself as a brace. When Bishop's breathing got too fast, too shallow, the dog leaned against him until it slowed. He's taking care of all of us, Thomas said quietly. That's what he does, Bishop replied. It's what he was trained for. Protect the team, whatever the cost. Marcus's phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. Drop it, or everyone dies. Last warning. He showed it to Bishop. Ortiz? Bishop asked. Probably. You scared? Marcus thought about the Carters, about Ranger, about all the handlers who'd lost their partners to greed. No, I'm pissed off. The town hall meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. By 6:30, the community center parking lot was full. Word had spread fast. Veterans showed up, families showed up, local news crews showed up. Sarah Chen arrived with 2 camera operators and a look of controlled excitement. This better be real, she said to Marcus. It's real. Just keep rolling no matter what happens. Inside, folding chairs filled the main room. A small stage at the front held a podium and a projection screen. Evelyn had prepared a presentation. 40 slides. Names, dates, amounts, photos. Irrefutable. Holland showed up at 6:45. He walked in like he owned the room, suit pressed, smile professional, confidence intact. He took a seat in the back row and waited. Ortiz arrived 5 minutes later. She wore her NCIS credentials on a lanyard, gun visible on her hip, face calm. She nodded to Holland, then found a seat near the center aisle. Marcus watched them both from backstage. His phone rang. Director Chen. My team is 10 minutes out, she said. Do not engage until they arrive. The meeting starts in 5 minutes. Then stall. I can't stall 200 angry veterans. Chen swore under her breath. Fine. Start the meeting. Present the evidence. But do not attempt apprehension. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. Marcus hung up and walked onto the stage. The room went quiet. Every eye turned toward him. My name is Lieutenant Marcus Cross, U.S. Navy, currently assigned to NCIS undercover operations. He paused, letting that sink in. 3 months ago, I was sent to Millbrook to investigate procurement fraud at the local VA office. What I found was worse than fraud. What I found was a systematic operation to steal and sell military working dogs for profit. The room erupted. Shouts, questions, anger rippling through the crowd like a wave. Marcus raised his hand. I have proof. Documents, recordings, Testimony from a handler who was declared dead to keep him quiet. Before we start, I need to tell you something. The people running this operation are here tonight. Every head turned, looking at neighbors, looking at strangers. Derek Holland, Veteran Assistance Coordinator, stand up. Holland didn't move. He smiled instead. This is slander, Lieutenant. I hope you have a good lawyer. I have something better. I have Ryan Bishop. Bishop walked onto the stage. The room went silent. Someone in the crowd gasped. An older veteran in the third row stood up slowly. That's impossible, the veteran said. Bishop died 2 years ago. I was at his funeral. You were at an empty coffin ceremony, Bishop said, his voice carrying. I'm alive, and I'm here to tell you what really happened to your dogs. Ortiz stood up. This meeting is over. Everyone needs to leave. Now. No one's leaving, Marcus said. Not until they hear the truth. Ortiz's hand moved toward her weapon. Lieutenant Cross, you are interfering with a federal investigation. You're right. I am. Because the investigation is into you. The doors burst open. 6 agents in tactical gear, NCIS badges visible, weapons drawn. Director Chen walked in behind them, calm and commanding. Special Agent Ortiz, Chen said. You're under arrest for theft of government property, trafficking, conspiracy, and murder for hire. Ortiz didn't run. She looked at Marcus with something like respect. You set me up. No, you set yourself up. I just did my job. Chen's team moved in. Ortiz was cuffed before she could react. Holland tried to run, made it 3 steps before 2 agents tackled him. The crowd watched in stunned silence as both were escorted out. Then, someone started clapping. Then another. Then the whole room was on its feet. Marcus felt nothing. No triumph, no relief. Just exhaustion. Sarah Chen was already broadcasting live, her cameraman capturing everything. The story was out. There was no burying it now. Ranger stood at the edge of the stage, watching Bishop, watching Marcus, caught between 2 handlers who both loved him. And that's when the real question hit Marcus. What happened next? The community center emptied slowly. Veterans lingered, asking questions, shaking hands, trying to process what they'd just witnessed. Thomas sat in a folding chair, his leg elevated, watching Marcus and Bishop stand on opposite sides of the stage with Ranger between them. Someone needs to decide, Evelyn said quietly. It's not our decision to make, Thomas replied. The hell it isn't. We paid for him. We fed him. We loved him when he had no one else. And Bishop died for him. Gave up his whole life. That counts for something too. Evelyn's hands tightened in her lap. She didn't argue because Thomas was right and they both knew it. Director Chen approached Marcus, her expression unreadable. We need to talk, privately. They moved to a side room. Sen closed the door and turned to face him. That was reckless. It worked. You violated protocol, broke cover, endangered civilians. I stopped a trafficking ring that's been operating for 6 years. Chen's jaw tightened. Don't get cocky, Lieutenant. You got lucky. If Ortiz had decided to shoot instead of run, we'd be counting bodies instead of arrests. Marcus felt the weight of her words, but didn't back down. What happens to the dog? Ranger is military property. He goes back to Lackland Air Force Base for evaluation. He's been declared dead. There's no record of him. Then we'll create one. Reinstate him. Process his retirement properly this time. Chen paused. Or we can leave him dead and let Bishop keep him. Off the books. Unofficial. Bishop's been on the run for 2 years. He doesn't have housing, doesn't have income. He can't take care of a dog. And the Carters are homeless veterans living on disability. They can't either. Chen's voice softened slightly. I know you want a clean answer, Cross, but there isn't one. Someone's going to lose here no matter what we decide. Marcus's chest felt tight. There has to be another option. Then find it. You have 72 hours before DOD makes the call for us. She left. Marcus stood alone in the empty room, trying to think through a problem that had no good solution. When he returned to the main hall, Bishop was sitting on the stage with Ranger's head in his lap. The dog's eyes were closed, his breathing steady, finally at peace. They're taking him back, aren't they? Bishop asked, without looking up. Maybe. Chen said we have 3 days to figure something out. There's nothing to figure out. He's government property. Always was, always will be. Bishop's voice cracked. I thought if I saved him, if I got him out, he'd be free. But you can't free something that was never meant to be free in the first place. Marcus sat down next to him. What if we fight it? Lawyer up. Make a case that he's been retired by circumstance. On what grounds? That I stole him and faked our deaths? That's a court-martial, not a retirement. Then what do you want to do? Bishop finally looked up. His eyes were red, but dry. I want what's best for him. Not for me, not for the Carters. For Ranger. He scratched behind the dog's ears. He deserves better than being stuck between 3 people who can't give him what he needs. Thomas limped over, leaning heavily on Evelyn. We need to talk about this. All of us. They sat in a circle. 4 people and 1 dog, trying to solve an impossible equation. What does Ranger need? Evelyn asked. Really need. Not what we want for him. What he actually needs. Stability, Bishop said immediately. Routine. Purpose. He's a working dog. He needs a job. Safety, Thomas added. Somewhere he won't be sold or stolen or used. Love, Evelyn said quietly. Someone who sees him as more than a tool. Marcus listened to all of it and felt something click. What if he had all 3? What if there was a way to give him stability, purpose, and protection all at once? How? Bishop asked. Veterans First Housing Initiative. It's a program that just got approved tonight thanks to the publicity from this case. Emergency housing for homeless vets, but it has a provision for service animals. Marcus looked at Thomas. You and Evelyn qualify. Bishop qualifies. What if you all applied together? Shared housing? Thomas frowned. With a stranger? With Ranger's original handler, the man who loved him first. Marcus leaned forward. Think about it. Bishop needs a place to land. You need stable housing. Ranger needs both his families. This solves everything. Evelyn and Thomas exchanged a long look. Years of marriage compressed into silent communication. We don't know him, Thomas said finally. You didn't know me either, Marcus replied. You trusted me anyway. That was different. How? Thomas didn't have an answer. Evelyn did. It was different because you showed up when no one else would. You paid for what you couldn't afford. You put yourself at risk for people you barely knew. She turned to Bishop. Did you do that? When you ran with Ranger, were you trying to save yourself or save him? Bishop's throat worked. Him. Always him. Then you're the same kind of fool Marcus is. Evelyn smiled faintly. That's good enough for me. Thomas sighed. You snore? Bishop blinked. What? Do you snore? Because I snore. Evie's got earplugs. If you snore too, we're going to need more." Bishop laughed. It sounded rusty, like he'd forgotten how. "I don't think I snore." "Good, then we'll try it. 3 months. If it doesn't work, we figure something else out." Marcus felt relief flood through him. "I'll make the calls, get the paperwork started tonight." "Wait." Bishop stood up. "There's something else. The other dogs. The ones that were sold. We have records of where they went, who bought them. Some of them are still alive." Marcus's mind raced ahead. "You want to recover them?" "I want to try. They deserve what Ranger got, a second chance." Bishop's expression hardened, and the people who bought them deserve to answer for it. "That's going to take resources, authority, a whole task force." "Then build one." Bishop pulled out another flash drive. "I have everything. Names of buyers, locations, contact information. Some of these dogs are working for cartels. Some are in foreign countries. But some are close, reachable." Marcus took the drive. "This is bigger than me. Bigger than NCIS." "I know. That's why you're going to take it to Director Chen and make her care." Marcus found Chen in the parking lot, standing next to a black SUV, talking on her phone. She held up one finger, finished her conversation, then hung up. "That was the Secretary of Defense," she said. "Apparently our little town hall made national news. He wants a full briefing by Monday." "Good, because I have something else for you." Marcus handed her the flash drive. "Complete records of every dog sold, every buyer, every transaction. Bishop wants to recover them." Chen stared at the drive. "Do you have any idea what you're asking? Some of these dogs are in cartel territory. Others are in countries we don't have extradition treaties with. This would take years, cost millions." "Or it takes one good story, one news cycle, public pressure." Marcus met her eyes. "You said I got lucky tonight. Maybe. But I also got people to care. Do it again. Make them care about the dogs still out there." Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she pocketed the drive. "I'll take it to DOD. No promises. That's all I'm asking." She started to get in the SUV, then stopped. "Cross. About Ranger. I'm recommending medical retirement. PTSD. He's been through trauma. 2 years on the run." "That's documented now. It qualifies him for early retirement with full benefits." "Benefits?" "Medical care, housing allowance for his caretaker, all paid by the military." Chen smiled slightly. "Turns out saving a dog from a trafficking ring makes good PR. DOD wants to do right by him. Publicly." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank whatever instinct made you stop for a cardboard sign instead of walking past like everyone else did." She drove away. Marcus stood in the parking lot, breathing cold air that finally felt clean. Inside, Ranger was asleep between Bishop and the Carters. 3 people who'd lost everything, held together by one dog who'd survived the impossible. Sarah Chen approached Marcus with her cameraman still rolling. "Can I ask you something on the record?" "Depends on the question." "Why did you do it? You could have just reported to your superiors, let them handle it. Why risk everything?" Marcus thought about his grandfather's Purple Heart, sold to a stranger, gone forever. Because someone had to care more about what was right than what was easy. That's a good quote. Mind if I use it? Use whatever you need. The story ran that night on every major network. By morning, it had gone viral. Veterans across the country started coming forward with stories of dogs that had disappeared under suspicious circumstances. A senator called for hearings. The DOD announced a full audit of military working dog programs, and in a small motel outside Millbrook, 4 people and 1 dog slept through it all, too exhausted to care about fame or headlines, or what came next. Marcus woke first. His phone had 37 missed calls. He ignored all of them and made coffee instead. Bishop emerged from the second bedroom, hair standing up, eyes clearer than they'd been in days. "Is it over?" "No, it's just starting." Marcus handed him a cup. "Chen's taking your evidence to DOD. They're going after the buyers. All of them." Bishop sat down heavily. "I didn't think anyone would actually listen." "People listen when you give them something worth hearing." Marcus paused. "The housing application goes through today. Emergency approval. You'll have a place by tonight." "All of us?" "All of you." Bishop stared into his coffee. "I don't know how to live with people anymore. I've been alone so long." "Then learn. They're good teachers." Thomas came out next, moving carefully, his leg still healing but stronger. "Someone's at the door." Marcus looked through the peephole. A man in a suit, military bearing, captain's bars. He opened the door cautiously. "Lieutenant Cross, I'm Captain James Morrison, Judge Advocate General's office." Morrison held up credentials. "I need to speak with Ryan Bishop." Bishop appeared in the doorway. "I'm Bishop." "Sergeant Bishop, you're being recalled to active duty, effective immediately. Pending court-martial for desertion." The room went silent. Marcus felt his blood run cold. "On whose authority?" "Commander, Naval Special Warfare Command. Orders came through an hour ago." Morrison's expression was apologetic. "I'm sorry, I'm just the messenger." Bishop's face went blank. "How long do I have?" "You need to come with me now." "Wait," Marcus stepped between them. "He's a witness in an active federal investigation. NCIS has jurisdiction." "Not anymore. This is a military matter." Ranger appeared from the bedroom, instantly alert. He positioned himself between Bishop and Morrison, hackles raised. Morrison's hand moved toward his sidearm. "Control your dog." "He's not my dog," Bishop said quietly, "and he's not going to let you take me." "Then I'll call backup. This can go easy or hard. Your choice." Evelyn spoke from behind them all. "Or it can go a third way." Everyone turned. She was holding her phone, screen facing out. On it was a live stream. Sarah Chen's news broadcast, already rolling. "You're on camera, Captain," Evelyn said calmly. "The whole country is watching, so you can arrest a man who exposed military corruption and saved dozens of dogs from being murdered. Or you can walk away and let the lawyers fight this out properly. But whatever you choose, everyone will see it." Morrison stared at the phone, at Sarah Chen's face in the corner of the screen, narrating in real time, at the view counter climbing past 10,000. "This is obstruction," Morrison said. "This is journalism," Evelyn replied. "There's a difference." Morrison's jaw worked. He looked at Bishop, at Marcus, at the dog still standing guard. "You have 24 hours. Then I'm coming back with federal marshals." He left. The door closed. Nobody moved. Bishop sat down slowly. "They're not going to stop. Court-martial means prison, maybe decades. Not if we stop them first." Marcus pulled out his phone and called Director Chen. "I need a favor. A big one." Chen answered immediately. "I saw the live stream, already making calls." "Can you block it?" "The court-martial? Maybe. If I can prove Bishop was acting as an informant, that he was gathering evidence for NCIS the whole time he was on the run." "Was he?" "He is now. Retroactively." Chen's voice hardened. "I'll have the paperwork by noon. But Cross, this is going to cost me. Political capital I don't have to spare. I'll make it worth it, I promise. You'd better. She hung up. Marcus looked at Bishop. How do you feel about officially becoming an NCIS informant? If it keeps me out of prison, pretty good. It's more than that. Chen's building a task force, recovery operations for stolen military working dogs. She needs someone who knows the network, someone who's lived it. Marcus paused. She needs you. Bishop's eyes widened. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a purpose. Same thing Ranger needed. Same thing we all need. Thomas cleared his throat. What about the housing? The shared living situation? Still happening. Bishop works for NCIS, lives with you, takes care of Ranger. Everyone gets what they need. Marcus looked at each of them. Unless someone has a better idea. Nobody did. The paperwork came through at 11 a.m. Bishop was officially designated a confidential informant, retroactive to the date he went AWOL. The court-martial was suspended pending completion of his cooperation with federal investigators. By noon, the housing application was approved. A 3-bedroom duplex on the edge of town, heating included, pets allowed, move-in ready. By evening, they were carrying boxes through the front door. Not many boxes, none of them owned much. But it was enough. Ranger explored every room, checking corners, mapping exits, then finally settled in the living room where he could see everyone at once. His job, his purpose, protect the pack. Marcus stayed for dinner. Thomas cooked pasta with supplies from the food bank. Evelyn set the table with borrowed dishes. Bishop told stories about Ranger's training, about missions they'd run together, about the bond that had nearly gotten them both killed. What happens next? Evelyn asked as they cleared plates. Next, we recover the other dogs, Bishop said. 73 confirmed alive. 42 in locations we can reach. 28 that might be willing to surrender their dogs if we offer them immunity. And the others? Thomas asked. We fight for them, however long it takes. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from Chen. Task force approved. Full funding. Your second in command. Report Monday. He showed it to Bishop. Looks like you're not working alone. Bishop smiled. Looks like neither of us are. Later, after Marcus left, after the dishes were washed and the lights turned low, Ranger made his rounds. He checked on Thomas and Evelyn in their bedroom, checked on Bishop in his. Then he settled in the hallway between them, positioned where he could guard both doors. Thomas appeared in his doorway, leaning on his cane. You don't have to do that, boy. We're safe now. Ranger's tail wagged once, but he didn't move. Stubborn, Thomas muttered. Just like the rest of us. He went back to bed. Ranger stayed on watch. Because that's what soldiers did. They stood guard while others slept. They carried the weight, so others didn't have to. And in a small duplex in Millbrook, Pennsylvania, 3 broken people and 1 determined dog learned what it meant to be a family. Not because they chose each other, but because they refused to give up on each other. The first recovery mission happened 3 weeks later. Marcus and Bishop flew to El Paso with a federal warrant and a transport crate. The dog they were after was named Titan, a German shepherd sold to a private security firm for $80,000. The firm's owner had no idea the dog was stolen military property until agents showed up at his door. I paid good money for that dog, the owner said, standing in his office doorway, blocking entry. You paid for stolen property, Marcus replied. That makes it our jurisdiction. I want my money back. Take it up with the people who sold him to you. They're in federal prison. The owner stepped aside. Titan was in a kennel out back, 30 pounds underweight, scars on his muzzle from a muzzle that had been too tight for too long. When Bishop approached, the dog's ears went back, body tensing. "Easy," Bishop said softly. "We're going home." Titan didn't trust easily, but he trusted the tone, the certainty. He let Bishop clip a leash on and walked out of that kennel like he'd been waiting 2 years for someone to remember he existed. On the flight back, Titan sat between them, shaking. Not from fear, from something breaking loose inside that had been locked down too long. "How many more?" Marcus asked. Bishop looked at his list. 41. "Then we keep going." They did. Over the next 4 months, they recovered 18 dogs. Some came easy. Others required court orders, negotiations, threats. One required a tactical team when the buyer refused to surrender and barricaded himself with the dog inside. Each dog went to Lackland for medical evaluation, psychological assessment, and reunification with their original handlers when possible. Some handlers had moved on, started families, couldn't take their dogs back. Those dogs went into the adoption program with full military benefits. But every single one was accounted for. Every single one was brought home. At the duplex in Millbrook, life settled into something that resembled normal. Thomas's leg healed slowly but steadily. Evelyn organized the paperwork for the Veterans First Housing Initiative, turning it from a concept into a functioning program. Within 3 months, 17 veteran families had stable housing. Bishop struggled more than he admitted. 2 years of running had rewired his brain. He woke up at 3 a.m. expecting someone to kick in the door. He checked locks compulsively. He couldn't eat without facing the exit. Ranger noticed. The dog started sleeping in Bishop's room, positioning himself between the door and the bed. When Bishop's breathing got too fast, Ranger would press against him, grounding him with weight and warmth. "He's taking care of you," Evelyn said one morning, watching them through the doorway. "I don't deserve it," Bishop replied. "Deserving has nothing to do with it. That dog loves you. Accept it." Bishop tried. Some days were easier than others. Marcus visited every weekend. He'd show up with groceries, tools, whatever the house needed. He never stayed long, always had somewhere else to be, always had another mission. "You're going to burn out," Thomas told him one Saturday afternoon as they replaced a broken window frame. "I'm fine." "You're running on fumes, I can see it." Marcus hammered a nail harder than necessary. "I'm doing my job." "Your job or your penance?" The hammer stopped. Marcus looked at Thomas. "What's the difference?" "One ends. The other doesn't." Marcus didn't have an answer for that. The breaking point came in month 5. They'd just recovered a Belgian Malinois named Cairo from a cartel safe house in Arizona. The operation went sideways when the cartel fought back. 2 agents were wounded. Cairo was shot protecting them. The dog survived surgery but would never work again. Nerve damage in his right front leg, permanent limp. Medical retirement, mandatory. Cairo's original handler was KIA 3 years ago. No family to take him. No one waiting. Marcus sat in the veterinary hospital, watching Cairo sleep off anesthesia, and felt something crack inside his chest. Bishop found him there 6 hours later. "You okay?" "No." "What happened?" "I'm tired, Ryan. I'm tired of finding them too late. Tired of fixing things that shouldn't have been broken in the first place." Marcus's voice shook. "That dog took a bullet for agents he didn't know because that's what he was trained to do. And now he's got nowhere to go." Bishop sat down beside him. "So we find him somewhere." "Where? Every foster is full. Every program is maxed out. There's no room." "Then we make room." Marcus looked at him. "How?" The duplex has a backyard. Thomas and Evelyn have been talking about getting chickens. Pretty sure they'd rather have a dog. Bishop smiled faintly. Besides, Ranger could use the company. He's been carrying the whole weight of protecting all of us. Time someone helped him with that job. 2 days later, Cairo moved into the duplex. He and Ranger circled each other for an hour, both cautious, both battle-worn. Then Ranger lay down, and Cairo lay down next to him. And that was that. 2 soldiers who'd survived hell, finding peace in each other's presence. Thomas adapted his routine to accommodate 2 dogs instead of 1. Evelyn bought bigger food bowls and more toys. Bishop built a ramp for Cairo's leg. The house filled with life in a way none of them had expected. Noise and movement and purpose that had been missing. Marcus watched it happen from the outside, visiting but never staying, helping but never joining. He told himself it was professional boundaries. He knew it was something else. He knew he was afraid that if he stopped moving, stopped working, he'd have to face what he'd given up to get here. His grandfather's Purple Heart was gone, sold, lost, and no amount of recovered dogs would bring it back. Director Chen called him into her office on a Tuesday morning. Marcus drove to D.C. expecting another briefing, another mission. Instead, he found her sitting with a man in a suit he didn't recognize. Lieutenant Cross, this is Deputy Secretary Martin Hayes, Department of Defense. Hayes stood and shook Marcus's hand. I've been reading your reports. Impressive work. Thank you, sir. How many dogs have you recovered so far? 18 confirmed, 6 more in progress. And how many are still out there? 23 confirmed alive, unknown number dead or unaccounted for. Hayes nodded slowly. I'm creating a new division, Military Working Dog Welfare and Recovery. Full federal authority, multi-agency jurisdiction, budget in the millions. He paused. I want you to run it. Marcus felt the room tilt. Sir, I'm a field operative. I'm not qualified to run a division. You're the only person qualified. You know the networks, you know the handlers, you understand what these animals go through. Hayes leaned forward. This isn't a request, Lieutenant. This is an order. You're being promoted to Director effective immediately. What about Bishop? Bishop is your second in command. Already approved. Hayes pulled out a folder. You'll have a team of 20, access to every military installation in the country, authority to investigate, prosecute, and recover. This is the biggest animal welfare operation DoD has ever authorized. Marcus looked at Chen. She nodded once. This was real. When do I start? Marcus asked. You already have. Your first assignment is here. Hayes slid a paper across the desk. Marcus read it, then read it again. This is a retirement order. For Ranger, official medical retirement, PTSD and trauma-related disability, full benefits, housing allowance, medical coverage for life. He's already living with the Carters and Bishop. I know. That's the point. Hayes smiled. Here's the part you're going to like. Under the new regulations I just signed, military working dogs retired for medical reasons can be assigned to multiple caretakers if circumstances warrant. Shared custody. Legal and binding. Marcus felt his throat tighten. You're giving him to all of us. I'm giving him what he needs. Stability from the Carters, purpose from Bishop, and oversight from you. Hayes stood up. That dog saved a lot of lives. Time we saved his. The retirement ceremony happened on a Saturday. Small gathering, no press, just family. The Carters, Bishop, Marcus, Director Chen, and a chaplain who understood that sometimes the most important ceremonies were the quietest. Ranger sat at attention, medals pinned to a vest Evelyn had made for him. Service ribbons, combat deployment markers, Purple Heart for injuries sustained in action. The chaplain spoke about sacrifice and loyalty and love that didn't count the cost. Then he presented the official retirement papers to Bishop, the Carters, and Marcus jointly. "Ranger has served with honor," the chaplain said. "He's earned his rest. May he find peace in the years ahead." Ranger's tail wagged once when everyone clapped. Then he walked to each person, accepting scratches and praise before returning to his spot between all of them. Not choosing, including. After the ceremony, Marcus drove back to his apartment. Empty. Quiet. Exactly how he'd left it. A package waited on his doorstep. No return address. No postage. Hand-delivered. Marcus opened it carefully. Inside was a wooden box. Old. Familiar. His hands shook as he lifted the lid. His grandfather's Purple Heart lay on faded velvet. Exactly as he'd left it. A note underneath in handwriting he didn't recognize. "A hero's sacrifice returned to a hero's grandson. Your grandfather would be proud of what you've become. Not because you're a soldier, because you're a man who stops when others walk away. The world needs more people like you. A grateful nation." Marcus sat on his doorstep and cried for the first time since his grandfather's funeral. Not from sadness, from something breaking open inside that had been locked too tight for too long. He called Bishop. "Can I come over?" "You don't have to ask. You're family." Marcus drove to the duplex. When he arrived, Thomas was on the porch with both dogs, throwing a tennis ball that Cairo chased and Ranger supervised. Evelyn was in the kitchen, cooking something that smelled like home. Bishop was in the garage, building shelves. "You hungry?" Evelyn called when she saw him. "Yeah," Marcus said. "I am." They ate dinner together, pasta and bread and vegetables from the community garden Evelyn had started. Conversation flowed easy, comfortable, the kind that happened when people stopped performing and started living. After dinner, Marcus showed them the Purple Heart, told them about the note, about what it meant. "Your grandfather would be proud," Thomas said quietly. "I hope so." "We're proud too," Evelyn added, "for what that's worth." "It's worth everything." Bishop raised his glass. "To second chances, for dogs and people." They toasted, drank, laughed at Cairo trying to steal food off the table while Ranger pretended not to notice. Later, as Marcus prepared to leave, Bishop walked him to his truck. "You could stay," Bishop said. "We have a couch. It's not much, but I have my own place." "I know. I'm just saying you don't have to keep leaving. You're allowed to stay." Marcus looked back at the house, warm light spilling from windows, dogs barking at something in the yard, Evelyn's laugh carrying through the screen door. "Maybe next time," he said. "Promise?" "Promise." Marcus drove home, but for the first time in months, the empty apartment didn't feel like punishment. It felt like choice, and choice meant he could choose differently tomorrow. Over the next 6 months, the Military Working Dog Welfare and Recovery Division recovered 41 dogs, reunited 32 with their handlers, found homes for the rest, prosecuted 17 trafficking operations, recovered over $4 million in stolen assets. But the real work happened quietly, in duplex living rooms where traumatized dogs learned to trust again, in backyard training sessions where old handlers remembered why they'd loved the work in the first place, in late-night phone calls between people who'd once been strangers and were now family. Marcus moved into the duplex on a Sunday morning. No ceremony, no announcement. He just showed up with boxes and said, I'm tired of living alone." "About time," Thomas said, helping him unload. They converted the garage into a bedroom. Small, functional, enough. That night, Ranger made his rounds. Checked on Thomas and Evelyn, checked on Bishop. Then he walked into Marcus's new room and sat down. "You don't have to guard me," Marcus said. Ranger's tail wagged. He lay down anyway. Because that's what family did. They showed up. They stayed. They carried each other's weight. And in a small duplex in Millbrook, Pennsylvania, 4 people and 2 dogs proved that miracles didn't always look like lightning and thunder. Sometimes they looked like a cardboard sign on a cold morning. A stranger who stopped instead of walking past. A choice to care when caring cost everything. The Purple Heart sat on Marcus's dresser now, not hidden away, not sold. Just there. A reminder that some things were worth sacrificing for, and some things were worth fighting to get back. And every morning, when Ranger woke Marcus with a cold nose pressed against his hand, Marcus remembered why he'd stopped that day. Why he'd bought a dog for $100 when everyone else had walked away. Not because he was a hero, but because he'd recognized something in that elderly couple and their determined dog. Something he'd been missing in himself. The willingness to stand when standing was hard. The courage to stay when leaving was easier. The faith that showing up mattered even when the outcome was uncertain. That lesson was worth more than any medal. And it was a lesson Marcus carried into every mission, every recovery, every life he touched. Because in the end, God's work wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was as quiet as a dog sitting guard over people who'd learned to trust again. As simple as a meal shared between strangers who'd become family. As profound as choosing to care when the whole world had learned to look away. And that was the kind of miracle that changed everything.